Okay, so the last things left in the video, we're not doing a flow, we're not doing 3D print. We're going to add wheels in the assembly, and we're going to do a bill of material, balloons, and then all these views. You got to do a standard front and top view, auxiliary, section, detail, and breakout views, which those are all new. Okay. Of course, creativity is part of the grade on this one. So let's add the wheel holes into the part first. So I've got my car opened up here, and if you got your decals to work good, that's great. If you didn't, it's going to be a little tougher to do. The main thing that lets the decals work good is having a tangent face all the way across where you add the detail on. So like this one, I put fillets between all these little lines and allowed the decal to drop in there real good. And that makes it easier to draw, of course, the wheel holes in there, which we haven't done yet. I probably need to get rid of my name on the bottom. As you can see, it didn't work out real well. So to put the wheel holes in there, you basically just trace them and cut them in there and then mirror them to the other side across that mirror plane. So I'm going to do that real quick. 3D model. I need a face to go on. Probably got all my mirror planes hidden. So that's one of the big things about this project, is learning how to use all the different planes. So there's a plane right there, and it looks like it's pretty close to that face. I'm going to put it on that face, right? So if I go right here, I want it on the side with the decal, so I'm going to do offset of parallel to plane through point, okay? Because that's the one that's basically parallel to my car, because it's one of the original planes that I used to draw the car, so I know it's right on the money. And I picked that one to offset through a point. So I'm just going to pick a point on this car edge, like right there, okay? And now I'll cut the wheel holes in both directions. And again, you're going to have to kind of estimate the depth of them a little bit, but so just do your best to make it look good. Right click on there, new sketch, and then again, wheel wells, of course, are pretty much circles. So I'm just going to draw a circle and maybe add, I don't know, a little line to it if I want to cut out more. So circle center point, right on the center of the wheel. Try to get the whole. That's pretty good right there. And now I'm just going to draw, it looks like it's an arc. So I'm going to draw an arc. And you can hit F7 if you want to see a little bit better, of course, to get into it. It knocked me out of my arc there. And then, of course, I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going back out of it. F7. And right there. So again, inventor, I went a little bit too far. And now it just needs to be a closed loop. So I'm just going to connect it down here anywhere. It doesn't really matter, and it can't overlap. Okay, so now I basically have this one cut out, and it's close enough up here. So that'll cut that one out. Now I do the same thing over here. Zoom in. And if you don't have a decal that's right on, then you just got to do your best estimate. Open up that. You can open up the image. Okay, so like for instance, there's one of the images. You make sure the sketch and the image are visible, and then you'll be able to see where the tires are as well. So you don't necessarily have to have the decal working to do a nice location for the tire. You just got to make sure the sketch and the image are visible, and then you can still trace it just like I am. I'm doing it on a decal, but it's the same thing if you did it on a sketch. Now I would say for this project, that wheel well is probably close enough to a circle. I'm going to leave that one alone. And I could trace it and get it even more accurate if you're trying to really take it all the way. Probably be best, but it's pretty darn close. Okay, so I'm going to finish those sketches. I could trim this one out, but I don't know if it's going to make me or not, so I didn't worry about it. So I'm going to extrude and try to pick all these things. Remember, shift middle mouse button to do that. Okay, so I've got all those, and now I'm going to switch it over to cut. Now it goes the other direction. Now I need to go both directions because this plane, as you can see, is cutting through part of my car. So I do need to go both directions. And I'm just going to make them the same. I could make them both different, but the same's fine. That's probably about deep enough. 1 inch, it just picked that, of course, ran as the default, but it's real close probably to the right depth for the wheel. Maybe a little bit deeper. Maybe it's a dragster, so it's going to have wider wheels, right? So put that on there, okay. So I cut a hole in them. Now you just mirror that across the middle. So somewhere I have a mid plane. Should have had that opened up before the video. Alright, I'm not finding any mirror planes. Well, there it is. I just picked it evidently. Okay, so that's my mid plane right there. So I'm going to mirror that feature across there. So mirroring that feature across there is pretty easy. I just pick mirror, select the feature. It's probably easier to pick it out of the browser since there's so much going on there. So I picked it out of the browser, then I go to the mirror plane. And the mirror plane is already selected. I thought it was. Let's try again here. Mirror. The feature with little wheels. Mirror plane 7 was the mid plane, I think. Okay, there it's selected, and I hit OK. And now just make sure they actually went in there correctly. They did. So now I've got my wheel wells in there, which that'll be very helpful when I create my wheels, right? It's a good idea when you save this, you're going to bring this in a minute to your assembly. I would hide this. Well, I guess maybe you could use that plane to draw your wheels on. It wouldn't be too bad. So I'll leave it open for now. Sometimes you want to hide some of the planes if they're in your way before you finish it out. So I'll save this. And got some pretty good wheel holes in there. You could put a shaft hole in there if you're going to truly 3D print it. You'd put a hole for a shaft in there. I was not able to shell mine very well. Probably because I had all these points and stuff on the front of the Firebird there. So it does not like all those points when it's trying to shell that run into each other and the math fails. Go to File, New, Assembly, and we'll bring this into it and then put the wheels in it and make a quick print, which you guys should all be very capable about doing now. So we do place, and first thing when we place something, I was hoping it would find that. Okay, so when you're placing your first item on there, make sure you right click and place grounded at origin, okay? That's only for the first item. I'm going to hit escape. If you're not happy with the view of it, because it's giving me some kind of crazy views, you can always set that as the origin too. There's a way to do that with this drop down. Set current view as home. Okay, and another nice thing about in here too is you can basically go to look at. So if you want to look at a certain face, you can pick a look at right there and then like pick on that face and it'll bring you right to it. So there's a couple nice features there. The car is actually looking pretty good. Out of one of the better ones I actually did. Sometimes the same vehicle I did try to do the same way and it looked terrible. So just I don't know. It is a little tricky. Alright, so to create the wheels, it's very similar. Of course my tires are now gone because I cut a hole in the car so the tires, you can't see them anymore. But it'll still be fine because I'm going to use the relationships from the other ones. Alright, so we want to create, make sure you're saving it in the same place. So I'm just going to call it wheel tire. You're welcome to do a one component wheel tire if you wish. Or you can break it into two parts if you want. Okay. I just want you to get a little practice with it. And it's looking right now for what plane to base it off. I'll just base it off the same main plane, because that's where I did everything anyway. And it's getting a little bit crowded in here, but it should still work fine. So I'm going to do 2D sketch, and I'm going to set this as home view. Okay, now if I go home, it'll at least be that view every time, okay? And you can also set it to the different rights and stuff if you want. So it's looking for a place, of course, to draw that sketch on. So I'm going to draw that sketch. Now what I want to do is project geometry, and project some of this stuff that I had before. Now that'll allow me to have a center point, okay? So those arcs that I'm having there, I can use that center point now basically to draw my tires and wheels. So circle, hover over that. I should be able to get it maybe. Maybe not. Evidently I should have went a little farther. Usually it's not that much trouble. Well, there's a couple different circles in here, so I'm going to have to probably cheat. So there's tangent circle, right? So I pick that, And why is it not letting me tangent to that? Let's draw my own arc in here, maybe tangent. Try that, see if that works. Now I've got a center point. It took a lot of work just to get a center point, didn't it? Okay, so I'll try to... the back wheel might be a little bit different size, so I'm going to do one at a time to be safer bet. Now I can finally draw a circle, which I was trying to do in the first place. Okay, but it should match up with that about perfect. Now don't put it all the way out there, of course, because it'll rub. Just kind of estimate it like that. It's fine. Okay, same thing on the next one. Since these both are in the same plane, I'll probably go ahead and draw another one over here. Circle. It's pretty close to right. Finish sketch. Okay, extrude. Last time I did it went 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go both directions this time, and I'll go just under 3/4 in. So it looks like it's 1 inch in and 1/2 inch out. So this one I want to go maybe 0.25 out, so they for sure stick out of the car. That's probably too much. 1.25. And then inside it was 3/4 in on the last one, so maybe 0.625. Okay, and that way it's not rubbing. If theoretically, if you 3D print this, you'd have some clearances. Okay, so that gives me a nice looking, pretty good size. So hit OK. So those are generated. I'd mirror these to the other side when you get done. Now remember, if you could, I guess, if you wanted to 3D print these separately, then you'd make one part of each. Okay, we're trying to do this in that'd probably be better. So let's go back a step here. Show you how to kind of shortcut it. So I'm going to do extrusion, profile, so I'm going to delete that extrusion because I don't really want to use it. So that is delete. Tell it not to get rid of my consumed sketches, and then I go to extrude and go back to this one and 1.25 both directions. And it remembered kind of almost what I did last time. What is it? 6.25. Okay. All right, that looks good. Okay, now that sketch is used, but that's no big deal. You just go in here, right click on it, and you can either share it or make it visible. Either way, it does the same thing if share is not available. I do not see it here, so I'm going to say make it visible. Now I should be able to use it again. Well, maybe not. It's not going to let me. Usually it'll let you share that sketch. Not today though. Alright, so yeah, and it won't let me extrude it because it can't see it. So I have to make a new one on top of it. Yeah, okay, let's do that real quick. 2D sketch, right on this plane. Project geometry, project that circle, finish sketch. Extrude. Same thing, both directions. It hopefully remember it didn't. 0.625. Okay, so now I have, still wasn't really right. I'm really going too fast here. So this, I'm trying to keep these separate parts so you see 4 of them when you're drawing and not 2 of each. So you can't extrude them both at the same time or they won't be separate parts. So I'm going too quick here. Alright, so let's finish this part first. So I'm going to put a fillet on this thing, and that doesn't look too bad actually. 0.125, probably a little too much. 0.065. Okay, hit OK on that. Put a hole in the wheel maybe in the middle. So extrude, oops, cancel, new sketch, circle, right on the center there. However big I want my axle to be, big enough. Finish sketch, I'm going to cut that through, extrude, cut, other direction. All okay. Probably put a little indentation in here so it actually looks like a wheel tire. And new sketch. Let's make it. Thought I did new sketch on there. New sketch. And project geometry. I want that line right there. So it's going to be a real low profile tire. Okay, and I'm going to extrude that in. Cut maybe not very far, 1/32. Yeah, that's fine, like that. Okay, now a couple things you can do. You can drop colors in on this. We haven't really talked about that yet. So there's your color option here, so you can adjust. And this is a little tricky. So you pick the one you want. What's it on now? It looks like it's on black. So I'll put that on there. And now it's on some kind of red. There, it's black. I drug it down there to black, hit the check mark. Okay, and the tire. Just switch the material over to rubber and it'll probably become black. Or like a gray, okay? Maybe I want this to be chrome if they have something. So switch that around or something that'll be a little bit more like chrome. I don't know. Knock yourself out on that and see what colors you want to put in there, okay? So that's my wheel. I should probably put also a fillet on the inside real quick here. It'll remember that, so that'll be pretty fast. Okay, so that tire is pretty much done. It's nothing fancy, but it is a tire and wheel and looks so decent. You could draw spokes in there too, but I'm not going to force you to do that. The more work you do put into this thing and the better it looks, so the more points you're going to get. So that is kind of based on that. I'm going to save that. Okay, I did remember when you created it, make sure you save it to the right place and give it the right name when you're creating that file. Now I'm going to return to the assembly. Okay, and I am going to basically copy that wheel and tire across the car. The way to do that would be pattern it. Okay, pick the object. That one there. Now it's probably going to pattern the plane and everything, so I might want to go back in there later and hide them so I don't have to look at all of them, but they'll disappear in my assembly view anyway. So I want to pick basically the array right here. Now this pattern we haven't done that much either, so this is the first chance for that one. We'll do it a little bit on the lab next week. Pattern's pretty easy though. Okay, so circular you pick a round tube, rectangular you pick straight lines. Okay, so first one here, it wants to know column direction. So I pick that and I need to have a direction. Okay, that's going straight back. So I don't see anything going straight back, so I'll go back to my original origin and grab me an axis. There's one right there, okay? If it lets me. It did. Okay, now the distance. So it's putting that thing definitely not far enough back. So that's 2 inches. So I'm going to adjust this till I get back. I could probably pick on it 2 distances if it'll let me. Measure. And it's not letting me measure those. If I put 2 points in there, it might, but let's go back to a distance. Just change the distance until you're happy with it. Okay, that's about right on. If you zoom in there, it's centered pretty good on that. Okay, at 5.35. So I hit. That's one direction. Now I need to go the other direction as well. Okay. Again, I can mirror those. That might be a little bit more accurate way to do it on the other way. So if I want to go the other direction, I would do that. But I think mirroring them will be better. So I'm gonna hit OK here. All right. So I've got 2 of them there. Now I'm gonna mirror these 2 to the other side. So I'm gonna pick mirror and pick my objects here. Make sure you turn them to yellow so you don't create new files. I hope I didn't already create a new file when I did the component one. I might have. Let's double check that. It doesn't really give you the option anyway. So okay, so we're going to go mirror. And it grabbed them both already since I did that last time. Mirror plane. I've got that nice mirror plane in the middle. It did let me select it. Next. Said make sure they're yellow there so you don't get 2 of them. Hit OK. Alright, so now I've got, it's kind of getting like a lot of a mess here, but it's a pretty darn good looking car for doing it in 15 minutes. Alright, so as far as the wheels go anyway. So that car's finished. Okay, I think that's everything we talked about in there. The last thing we need to do is do the assembly drawing. So I'm going to do that real quick. Looks like my video voice is really loud in here, so if you watch the video, you better turn your sound down. New drawing. And the only thing I really wanted to show you on there is the different views. Okay. So I tried to list them all here. So you got to do basically the standard views, an auxiliary view, a section view, a detail view, and a breakout view. They're not as bad as you'd think. So there's a D-size, and as you probably know, I never like the D-size prints. You can't print them for one thing. So edit sheet. Turn it to one I always like use, B-size. Hit OK. Hopefully you're using your border. I didn't do that in the nature of time again. It's got an awful big title block in there. So I'm going to go to C size just so things fit a little bit better. Edit sheet. The nice thing about C size too, it's basically double in both directions of A size, so when you print it, it actually, on a regular small printer, it looks pretty, everything's half as big, but it does look very nice. Alright, so we go to base, and hopefully it remembers that I've been working on the assembly. Of course I didn't save the assembly. File, save, and we'll call this Trans Am 2020. They're not saved. Now it'll work a little bit better. Paste. Yep, it found it right away. Good. If it didn't, you'd have to go get it. And I, of course, do not want that view as my top view. So I switch that around, spin it. And that's probably the one I want, and the scale's terrible. I don't want that one. That's about right. Okay, now I do have a lot of views in this, so don't take up too much room. So I'm going to put it down here low, get a top view of it, get my 3D view of it, and I'll probably move them around later. All right, now let's just go down here. So this is a projected view. Okay, this top view is a projected of the side view, so you already got that one done. We did the base view already. Of course this needs to be 3D, and you can make them all 3D if you want them to show up better, because I can't really see how good a job you did unless you turn them 3D. Remember, this is a parent view, and so if I turn this one will switch. Alright, so if I turn that one to 3D, they'll both switch. Then you can see your decals a lot better on it too, so I'd rather you would do that actually. Alright, now so the auxiliary view, okay, it creates a projection at an angle off something, so it's probably not going to look the best. But so projected view, and first of all it says selective view you want to project from. That's fine. Now it says select a linear edge. Okay, I don't have a lot of linear edges on this thing. Everything's curved. Good luck finding a linear edge. They're all straight, so that's just going to give me a regular looking view. You can always draw one. So if I go over to sketch and I go to line, and I just draw, say I wanted a view that was going from there across here. Okay, finish sketch. Now I've got a little line in there I can project things from. Okay, so place views, auxiliary, pick my view, select the linear line. Well, what's it asking for? Select. Oh, it still wants a model edge. There's not very many straight lines in my car. Hopefully you have better luck than I am here. Alright, so just see if you can find a straight line that's not the same thing as a projected view. Since I have no decent lines there, I'm going to just use this one. Okay, so it basically went right off that, which I don't really like that. But I'll see if I can get a straight edge to show up in there and show you that in a little bit in the video, okay? So let's skip that one for now. Section view, of course, you've done before. That shouldn't be too bad. You pick your view, okay, and then you hover over a point that's like in the center, hopefully, if you're doing a center section. Okay, but then you scroll out from it so you're not right on top of it. Then go over the other side and make sure you're horizontal typically. Now you can do a more complicated one if you want. So like a more complicated one would be something like this. Multiple brake lines, so maybe you can see the tire. Okay. Okay. And then when you get all the way through with your section, you hit continue. Right click and pick continue. Okay. And then you gotta place it. And it's about locking up. So I would probably, if Don't really want that being upside down, so maybe I'll put that down here by this one and move my top view up so it doesn't look quite as bad. Okay, so there's the section. The detail. So detail, what it is you first you have to select a view. So say I want to see a detail of this bumper, for instance. So I'll select let's do it over. It'd be more typical on a 2D view, not a 3D view. So I pick that, and then it says select the center point of it. So basically right here, okay. And then basically what you're doing is you're drawing a little circle, and you're going to change the scale and make it bigger so you can see it better, okay. And you can change the scale here. Maybe I want it 4:1 would be more realistic than 2:1. Okay. All right, so now it's real large, all right, and I'm gonna put it right here so it's, and that maybe move my views around again. Okay. All right, so there's the detail of that. It basically blew it up 4:1 so you can see it better. All right, breakout I think is the last one I listed. Okay, so this one you have to draw a sketch on the view so it'll cut through it. I'll see if I can do it right the first time here. So if I want to see maybe a breakout of this wheel well or something would be a good example. I'm going to have to do a sketch on that. So maybe that's why that sketch didn't work a while ago. So I pick sketch, okay, and the first thing on sketch is it wants you usually to pick a view to start with. So I'm going to pick that view, okay, and then I'm going to do maybe a little spline cutout would be more realistic. Okay, finish sketch. So that's going to be my breakout. So you got to have a sketch done on that view before you do a breakout. Now I go to breakout view. Okay, I think we did a break view on our axle way back when, so I'm not going to make you do that one again. The first thing is this selective view again. Okay, now it found this sketch already because I did it in that view, so it did find it for me. Yay! Now it says how deep do you want to go from point. Okay, and it's asking me specify the depth value and select a point to go from. So I'm going to go from the roof. I know this thing's about 3 inches tall. And how deep? I don't know, maybe 3. If nothing shows up, that means that's probably too deep. Let's go 2. It's a little safer. Okay. Now I think I hit OK and place it. Okay, so what it basically did was it cut a hole in this view. So you can see what's down in there. Okay. Now you'd like a gear system or something like that would be handy. You basically cut away the cover, or like a belt pulley system, you cut away the cover on a view to show that. Of course, if you want a good top view, you'd have to do another top view separate. But that's basically how a breakout view works. It just basically cuts away to a certain depth. I think that's it. Well, of course, the standard. Maybe the overall dimensions if you want, but you don't necessarily dimension an assembly drawing very often. So I'm not going to make it. You wouldn't really dimension an assembly drawing, except for maybe the overall size. Same thing with center marks, center lines, not so much on assembly drawing. You do need to have a bill of material, which is the parts list, and the balloons. So I'm going to put that on here, select view. Let's see here, that's fine. Do the breakout one. And okay, just drop it in there. There should only be 2 items in here if you do it right. Unless you do a tire wheel separate. Okay, so I've got 1 char and 4 tires, which is what I was trying to go for. And now I need to do my balloons. There's only 2 balloons, so if you want to do a single balloon or auto balloon, I'd just do an auto. There's only 2 items. Pick that one. There's one. Right click, continue. Pick this one. Right click. I should have probably placed it first. Undo. Balloon. Balloon. Pick my object, put it there, right click, continue. Okay, so I got 1, 2. So do all that, get your parts. I think that's it. You do all that, and I'll grade it based upon how close it is, how creative it was. Of course, if you ran into a whole bunch of nightmare problems, I'll try to take that into consideration a little bit too. Hopefully it works out good for most of you. Okay, one last item. I did get the auxiliary view to work. So pick the view you want, pick the edge you want to go on, and you can see how it does the auxiliary off at that angle of that edge. Okay, it has to be a linear model edge, so hopefully you have one. If you don't have one, just do the best you can on it. Okay, it's more about at least using them a little bit. Do get these views to fit in there. You might have to change the scale or change the paper size as needed. Okay.